You ever sit quietly and feel like time is racing ahead, but your soul hasn't moved? Like the world is obsessed with counting years, measuring wrinkles, glorifying youth? But deep inside, something ancient and powerful within you is whispering, I'm not getting older. I'm just arriving. You're not broken. You're not late. You're just becoming. And maybe it's not that you're afraid of aging. Maybe it's that you're afraid of forgetting who you really are while doing it. If that resonates, even a little, then stay. Don't treat this video like a quick scroll. These aren't just 5 points. Each one is a mirror, a message, a memory your soul's been trying to get back to. If you skip one, you might miss the very truth that would have brought the peace you've been chasing. So take a breath. Be here. Let's explore the 5 quiet ways your soul already knows. It's not aging, it's evolving. If this already feels like something your spirit's been needing, I'd love to have you stick around. This channel is for people walking deeper, not faster. Subscribe when you're ready, no pressure, just presence. They tell us aging is decline, that youth is vitality, and anything beyond it is fading. But what if that's just noise? What if the most powerful parts of you don't age at all? Stoicism doesn't fear time, it respects it. And more than that, it transcends it. Because this isn't about stopping the years. It's about remembering the parts of you that were never bound by them. Let's go deeper. 1. You start craving depth over noise. There was a time when your calendar needed to be full for your heart to feel okay. A time when the silence of a weekend alone felt unbearable. And the idea of missing out? Unthinkable. You chased the loudest rooms, the fastest thrills, the rush of being seen, heard, noticed, needed. It felt like proof that you were alive. But something has changed. You've started waking up and craving slow mornings. Not headlines, not updates, just stillness. You find peace in your tea going cold, in the way the sunlight hits the wall at 6:45 a.m., in sitting on your bed and doing nothing, and not feeling guilty about it. You used to seek stimulation. Now you seek presence. It's not that the world got quieter. It's that you stopped needing the noise to feel alive. Because let's be honest, half the time that noise was a cover-up for anxiety, for insecurity, for that quiet ache you couldn't name, the parties, the scrolling, the constant movement. It felt like living, but looking back, it was more like running. And now, you're not running anymore. You're resting, not as weakness, but as wisdom. You're not becoming boring. You're becoming whole. That deep exhale you feel when you're alone and nothing needs to happen next. That's not aging. That's awakening. That's your soul coming home to itself. Refusing to confuse noise with connection. Refusing to trade your inner stillness for outer approval. Ask yourself, when did you start feeling full? Just sitting alone in your own presence. Not lonely, not left behind, just whole, as if you and your breath and this moment were enough. You may not remember the exact day it started, but you know the feeling. And here's the beautiful part. That craving for depth, it's a sign your spirit has matured beyond the need to prove anything. You're no longer addicted to being seen. You're learning to simply be. That's real growth. Not the kind people applaud, but the kind your soul waited years for. And as that craving for depth grows, so does your ability to let go. Because the next truth, it's the reason why losing people doesn't shake you the same way anymore. 2. You lose tolerance for shallow connections, but gain reverence for solitude. There was a time when the thought of being left out, being left behind, Being forgotten felt like a kind of death. You clung to conversations that didn't nourish you, to people who never truly saw you, to rooms where you had to shrink just to fit in. You wanted to belong so badly. You softened your voice. You ignored your instincts. You laughed when things weren't funny just to stay connected. But now, you've started feeling something different. Not bitterness, not arrogance, just clarity. You see through shallow connections quickly. You feel it in the first few minutes of a conversation. That emptiness disguised as small talk. That one-sidedness wrapped up in just checking in. You hear the performative tone. You feel the lack of presence. And you just don't have space for it anymore. Not because you're cold, but because you're clear. Your soul no longer needs people to fill the silence. It needs people who honor it. You've stopped begging people to stay. You've stopped performing to be chosen. Now, if someone walks away, you let them, gently, with love, without the need for explanations or last words. Because you've learned, not everyone is meant to walk with you to the next chapter. Some were only there to teach you how to walk alone. And at first, when that aloneness felt like punishment, but slowly it became peace. Solitude no longer scares you. It strengthens you. Because now, when you sit with yourself, really sit, you realize you're not missing anyone. You're meeting you. And that's sacred. That's where your energy returns. That's where your power comes back. Not from another person validating you, but from the silence affirming you are already whole. You used to fear being alone. Now you protect it. You used to ache for attention. Now you crave alignment because you've outgrown seeking love in places that never loved themselves. And that's why this shift feels so strange, so weightless, so powerful. You're not becoming distant. You're becoming discerning. And this next truth, it's the one most people resist, but it's also the one that builds the strongest kind of resilience. 3. You begin to honor endings instead of fearing them. 4. You stop chasing more and start choosing enough. You begin to honor endings instead of fearing them. If you're honest with yourself, you might admit that endings have always scared you. Not just the big ones, like losing someone you love or closing a chapter in your life, but even the small ones. The last page of a good book, the final moments of a conversation, the fading of a feeling. There's a natural instinct in all of us to hold on tightly, as if letting go means losing everything, as if the very act of saying goodbye will unravel the fabric of who we are. But the truth, if you lean into it, is very different. Look around. Notice how nature handles endings with grace. The leaves don't fight their fall. The rivers don't rage against changing course. The sun doesn't hesitate to set, knowing it will rise again. Everything moves in cycles. Seasons close, but they also promise new beginnings. Even the night, darkest as it can be, is always followed by dawn, and your life mirrors this same rhythm. You will face endings of relationships, dreams, identities, phases. At first, it might feel like a loss you can't bear, but slowly something begins to shift inside you. You begin to see endings not as failures or punishments, but as part of the sacred dance of life. You start to bow to the endings. You don't fight them. You don't resist or cling. You don't bargain or pretend they aren't happening. Instead, you whisper thank you, even if tears fall, even if your heart aches, because you recognize the truth your soul has known all along. Endings are not endings at all. They are transformations in disguise. The Stoics had a way of reminding us that what we fear as death, what we fear as loss, is simply nature's way of making space. What you see as a final goodbye is actually an invitation to let go, to grow, to become someone new. When you really sit with this, it changes how you live. You don't fear the last page of your story. You don't fear the closing of a door. You want to savor every word, every moment, every breath, because you know that how you carry your story is everything. You learn to carry it lightly, without regret, without fear. You honor every chapter, every lesson, every person who walked alongside you. And in doing so, you create space for new stories to be written. This is profound. It's a quiet strength that doesn't shout but whispers. A resilience that comes not from forcing control, but from accepting life's flow. And just as nature teaches, you learn to bend without breaking, to flow without losing yourself. And this next truth, it will change how you carry your story, how you carry yourself, with both grace and courage. 5. You no longer need to prove your worth. This is the most powerful rebellion of the soul. The quiet refusal to keep performing for acceptance. You stop measuring yourself by the roles you play, the titles you wear, or the milestones you hit. You no longer need to prove your worth. This might be the most powerful kind of rebellion your soul can make. For so long, you've been performing, acting out roles, wearing titles like armor, chasing milestones like trophies. Maybe you didn't even realize it. Maybe it was so natural, so constant, that it became part of your identity. But somewhere along the way, your soul whispered a quiet refusal. A refusal to keep playing the part just to be accepted, to keep measuring yourself against someone else's standards. Because here's the truth. Your worth isn't tied to what you do. It isn't wrapped up in the image you present. It isn't dependent on the applause, the promotions, or the likes. Your worth is inherent. It's there simply because you are. You start to feel this shift in your body first. You breathe slower. There's less urgency, less need to prove. You walk softer, not because you're smaller or quieter, but because you're more grounded. You're no longer exhausting yourself trying to be what the world expects. Instead, you begin to truly live, not as a persona crafted for approval, but as you, the raw, imperfect, beautiful you. And that's the wild part. When you stop trying to be impressive, when you stop chasing the spotlight, that's when you become unforgettable. Because real power isn't in performance, it's in presence, in authenticity, in the courage to show up as you are. There's a freedom there that's unlike anything else. You don't carry the weight of expectations. You don't hide behind masks. You simply exist, fully, deeply, and honestly. And people notice, not because you're trying to stand out, but because you're standing in your truth, in your worth. This is more than just a mindset shift. It's a soul revolution, a rebellion against a world that asks you to prove yourself again and again, a declaration that you are enough, simply because you breathe. So take a moment. Feel that truth settle in your bones. You don't have to prove anything anymore. You're already whole. And that is the greatest gift you can give yourself. Take a breath. Let that land. This isn't about fighting time. It's about finding yourself in the spaces time can't touch. You're not behind. You're not fading. You're just aligning. Each of these truths isn't new. They've been inside you this whole time, waiting for your noise to quiet down. If any part of this reached something deeper in you, consider subscribing. There's more to come. Real conversations for the parts of you that are tired of pretending and ready to breathe. Let's recap. You're craving depth, not distraction. You're letting go of shallow approval. You're bowing to endings. You're choosing enough, and you've stopped proving and started being. That's not aging. That's ascending. So the next time you look in the mirror and see a wrinkle or a gray hair, smile. That's not decay. That's evidence of survival, of wisdom, of sacred miles walked. You are not running out of time. You are becoming timeless. And you're not alone in this. We're walking it too, together. Stay grounded, stay real, and I'll see you in the next one.